Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Streaming 101 webinar. We hope that you're doing well today. My name is Phil Thompson. I'm with Steve Lacy.
Hello, I'm Steve Lacy. Good
This
morning.
good morning, Steve. So this is a basic 101 webinar. We're going to kind of give you the basics of streaming video and why that's important, and we'll also be available to answer some questions for you. So if you're watching on your screen right now, you should have a little green, what is that, chat bubble, you might say, towards the center of your screen, and you can ask us a question there. You can chat with us there. We'll answer the question if it applies to exactly what we're talking about. We'll try to address it right away. Otherwise, we will do it at the end of the webinar. So with that in mind, it's 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I want to tell you a little bit about Steve Lacy. Actually, I'll let Steve Lacy tell you.
I am not seeing your slides yet.
Well, that might be a good thing to do if we're going to watch.
There we go.
That's what we want to have there. Now you can actually see Steve's smiling face. So Steve, very quickly before we get into the webinar, I just want to let people know that we've been doing this for a while, so share your background.
So I am a degreed engineer, father of four, been involved with ministry pretty much my whole adult life. Aerospace engineer, first half of my career, and then in 2001, created some tools for ministry and have been doing that ever since.
And you are the president and founder of JSL Solutions. When did that company start?
That began in August of 2001.
So coming up here on, I guess, almost 15 years then.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I remember when that happened. My name is Phil Thompson. As I said earlier, I'm the executive director here of JSL Solutions. Known Steve for probably about 20 years now. Been working with the company 6 or 7 years, maybe a little longer. I actually have a degree in broadcasting as well as biblical theology. I've been involved in Christian broadcasting, helped start a couple Christian radio stations way back in the 80s and early 90s, and was a manager and also involved in my local church. Actually became an executive pastor, and from there a senior pastor, and also a church online pastor. And I'm actually doing a little bit of part-time work on the weekends for a church as an executive pastor. So Steve and I have a lot of ministry experience, but enough about us. Let's talk a little bit about streaming video. Oh, real quickly, we do have a podcast.
Yes.
It's called Church Solutions Podcast.
We'll be recording this week's episode after this webinar.
We will. You can find us on iTunes or anywhere you get your favorite podcast. Just look for Church Solutions Podcast, and we cover technical things as well as ministry-related things as well. All right, yes. So what do you need to do streaming video? That's the big question, and this is Streaming 101, so let's talk a little bit about the basics this morning. We can get into some more details later as time allows. So Steve, give us a little overview here of how streaming video works.
All right. So there's a rectangle that comprises what happens at your church. And so most of the action is there at your church. Basically, all you need is one or more cameras, a way to connect that camera to a computer through a capture device, and then an internet connection. Okay. To send the internet connection, send your broadcast out on the web, and then you see in the picture, people can join from their phones, computers, wherever they can get on the internet. They can watch your service.
So most people are familiar with computers. Most are familiar with cameras. The video adapter or video capture device, a lot of people are not familiar with that, but you really need that. Also, you need a live encoder, and we do recommend, we lean more towards software-based live encoders that you can put on your computer, but we're also going to show you some hardware boxes as well.
Yeah, so we're going to dig into the details of each of these pieces.
Right, exactly. All right. So let's start off with something that people need to know about, and that is your internet upload speed.
Yes. So a lot of people will assume that they have a good internet connection because they've got some great download speeds, but with streaming, it's all about your upload speed.
That's right. And so how do you know what your upload speed is?
So you can go to websites. There's a bunch of websites out there that offer speed tests. This shot here is a speed test that we offer on our website. And you're going to need at least a megabit per second of upload speed. Now, if you're going to be doing some more advanced things, you're going to need a little bit more. But just as a rule of thumb, you'll need a megabit per second, and that's pretty much, you'll get that with any popular internet service provider today. We found that some people have tried to stream off of some wireless mobile setups, and that is really pushing it when you want to be able to stream consistently.
Right. Now, we do have some customers in Canada that have told me that out in the boonies in Canada, the upload speed is not that great. So,
right. So if you don't have a good upload speed, there are some things you can do. Give us a call and we can adjust your settings on your encoder. The other thing that, the key measures are your upload speed, just your overall speed. And the other thing that's important is what we call the quality of service. So that is a measure of how consistently you're going to get that upload speed. So
that's pretty important, actually.
Yeah, with streaming, you're going to be streaming for an hour or two or three, and so the quality of service is going to tell you how consistently you get that upload speed. So you're going to want to have a quality of service score of 80% or better, which tells you that 80% of the time you're going to get the upload speed that shows up on the chart here.
Upload speed, very important. Speed tests are good. Let's move on here a little bit then to another common question, and that is, if you're going to have a live encoder on your computer, what kind of a computer should you have, and how powerful does it have to be?
Right. So when it comes to computers, Mac or PC, it doesn't matter. You don't need a powerhouse computer. We recommend just an average computer you've purchased in the past 3 to 5 years or so should work just fine for the encoding. And again, this is streaming 101, so these are you're getting your foot in the door, so you're streaming. If you're going to be doing some advanced things, then you may want a little more horsepower. But to just get streaming, any computer that is healthy,
yes, keyword,
yes, free of malware. So if if you have a computer that you bought in the past couple of years, but it just does not behave, you don't know why, you're going to have problems encoding as well as streaming on that computer, just as you would with any other program running.
If you do stream on your computer, probably not having a lot of programs opened at the same time would be important as well.
Right.
Because your encoder is going to take some of your CPU.
Right.
So, all right. So, healthy computer is definitely.
And we recognize you can't read the stats on that. If you're interested, we can send you some details. But just a rule of thumb is, you probably have a computer at your facility that is going to work just fine.
Let's move on to another important piece of the puzzle here when it comes to Streaming 101. A lot of people overlook when they first consider getting into it, and that is, you need to have some kind of a video capture device or video card that's going to capture streaming video before it gets into your live encoder. You cannot just plug a camera right in.
Right. A common misconception is people go, well, I've got a camera and I see that it's got an HDMI port on it, and my laptop's got an HDMI port, so I'll just plug these guys in and we'll be rocking and rolling. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you've got an HDMI port on your computer, it is very likely an HDMI output and not an input. So you need a means to connect the two together.
All right.
That's where this.
So there are video capture devices. There's lots of them out there, several ones out there. So let's take, for instance, you have a camera and it has HDMI coming out. The device you're looking at right now on the screen here is called a Magwell USB Capture HDMI. We recommend this because you plug your camera in the one end, and then on the other end it goes into your computer. If this will work with a USB 3.0 port in your computer, so you definitely, especially if you could do more of a high resolution, you need to have USB 3.0 when using this device. But you could do, if you want to do a little bit lower resolution, you could also plug this device into a USB 2.0, which is pretty common. The 3.0s are coming out now.
Yeah, 3.0s are getting pretty common too. They're
starting to. Yeah. If you have newer computers, you should have those. But so this is kind of what makes the magic happen. So your camera, your camera, and then into your computer, into your live encoder. Here's another device It's a Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle. Blackmagic's got their marketing's pretty good, so a lot of people have heard of Blackmagic's devices. We're not that crazy about them, but they do work if you get the right one. This one is got a lot of connections into it, so it's a little bit of an overkill here on the view. But here I'll give you a different picture of it. But again, with this device, you could plug in HDMI, or you could use RCA, or you could use some other S-video. And then on the other end, it's going to go in to either USB 3 or Thunderbolt. We recommend that if you're going to use USB 3.0, if you have that option on your computer, go with what we just showed you earlier. But if you have Thunderbolt, this could also work well with Thunderbolt.
Right. This is a device. It tends to be a little more finicky than the Magewell or Magewell. So yes, this is a great device. Again, if you've got any questions or comments, you can, if you mouse up to the top of your screen, you'll see a green chat bubble, and you can jump in and ask us a question.
Let me give you something that's, we didn't talk about the prices on those other ones, but they're around $300.
Yeah.
Those two we just talked about.
Yes.
In the neighborhood of $300.
Blackmagic, a little less expensive, but you're going to get a little more hassle with it, depending on your equipment.
Yeah. So here's one for the really, really basic one-on-one deal, and this is a video capture device called the Elgato video capture device, and this one is very simple. If your camera has composite or your switcher has composite coming out, that's what you see here on the screen: red, white, yellow. RCA is another term for it, composite. Also, there's S-video, which is another connection you could use, and then this goes into your computer in your USB 2.0. And it's workable. It's not the ideal situation, but it's only around $70-$80. There are versions of this which are even cheaper. Right. We're not saying we recommend them fully, but you could certainly use them and see how it goes until maybe your budget allows you to upgrade.
So one question would be, well, why don't I just go for this cheap one, and why are we talking about these more expensive ones?
Well,
and the answer is,
my answer would be, you want the thing to work when you use it. And some of these devices, like the one we're looking at here, again, it's a 2.0 deal. There's lots of them. This is what we think is better of the ones like this.
I think the key thing I was trying to get at is that if you want to stream in HD or have a higher resolution, you're going to want to use the former devices, the Magewell or the. These are going to be, since the USB 2.0 is a slower port, you're only going to be able to send lower resolution images. It's still going to work great for streaming. And for most environments, especially on your phone or on the computer, you're really not going to tell a large difference in SD versus HD.
True.
It's only when you get to, the big difference comes into play when you're projecting on a wall or you've got a big screen TV, and then you can really tell the difference.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. But so the key thing to keep in mind here, folks, is that you're going to need some kind of a video capture device, unless you just use a webcam. And there are people that have done that, but the setting's very unique, very small. We don't recommend a webcam, but we'll get into cameras.
You've said maybe a Sunday school teaching or one-on-one or that sort of thing.
Have a little, So anyhow, let's talk a little bit about cameras. And the big question we always get is, well, what kind of a camera should I get for streaming video?
Right, and that's a good question. A lot of times we compare this to making a car recommendation. So it really depends on your budget and what you're looking for. We have a rule of thumb that we recommend, in that the better the lighting in your facility and the closer you can get to your subject, the less you would need to spend on a camera.
Right. So
there's some ways where you can, up the lighting, or you've got good lighting already, that you can get away with a lower quality camera. So we have some recommendations here. We've got some higher end cameras that are shown here. One of the things that you talk about is there's cameras when they first come out are really expensive, but they age a couple of years, and you can actually pick up a 2-year-old prosumer level camera for quite a bit of a discount.
Yeah, I recommend that because there are churches that are always upgrading their equipment, and if they're using cameras like what you're looking at here, a lot of times they're on some kind of a tripod or a stand or something, and so they're pretty stable. They don't get beat around a whole lot, and you could pick them up really reasonably on Craigslist or eBay. Or if you happen to know somebody in your area that's upgrading cameras, it all depends on your budget, and as you mentioned earlier, Steve, the environment that you're in. But almost any camera, including this one we're showing you right now, is almost any camera will work for streaming. This is a consumer grade video camcorder.
Actually a rather old one too.
It's an old one.
Right. So there's so you can definitely get away with the camcorder level. There's actually a camcorder that is recommended by us and some others that are around this industry. There's a Canon Vixia G20. Actually own one of those that I purchased for and it's got great reviews. It works really well as it's a high quality camera that's it's around the $800-900 price range there. You can go much lower, and you can go much more expensive. So some of the prosumer cameras that we mentioned before are going to run you $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about budget. But as Steve said earlier, lighting, how far away you are from your subject, what you really want to do. On this slide that you're looking at right now, this is a camera that I think very much like the one you first started out streaming years ago. With nice thing about something like this, it's very mobile. You can set it up on a tripod, and away you go. If you notice in the background, there's a video capture device. This is an old picture, but this is actually something that utilized FireWire, if I remember right. And if you happen to have FireWire capabilities, it's an old technology, but it works very well for streaming. That a lot of people don't recognize. But anyhow, if you have questions about cameras, you can always send us an email, support@StreamingChurch.tv.
Right, or chat. You can reach up and grab that chat bubble and ask a question as we go along as well.
So let's move into another important piece of live streaming, and that is your live encoder. And there are multiple live encoders out there. This is what you have to do live streaming. What this does is you have credentials that we give you, or any company would give you for streaming video. You drop credentials in this live encoder or one like it, connects up to the servers, and then comes back down to people. This is a Flash Media Live encoder that you're looking at right now.
Right. So just a little review here. We've got a camera. We've connected it to a video capture device, and then this is software running on the computer we have available. And you launch that software, and it's going to see that the camera is connected and give you the preview there. This one is the Adobe Flash Media Live encoder, and it has been around for quite a while. It's from Adobe, so it's a large, established, reputable company. This software is free. It's one of the benefits of it. On the downside, the good side, it's free. It's from a large company. It's been around for a long time. It's well established. On the downside, Adobe's actually dropping this support of this software, so they haven't made an update since 2009 of the software. And there's some limitations with this particular encoder. You're going to be limited to a single camera input into the encoder.
Unless you have a switcher in front of it.
Right. So you can have a switcher, you can go camera to video adapter to a switcher, then to this encoder, you could do that. One of the other things is this thing, as I mentioned, hasn't been updated in 7 years now. So a lot of the HD inputs are not going to get along well with this encoder. You're going to struggle to even recognize some HD camera inputs, and then when you do stream with it, it typically leads to some problems with, you said out of sync or
audio video getting out of sync.
Yes,
sometimes.
But the good thing about it, it's free. It's available on the Mac and the PC, and a lot of people streaming their church services are using this.
Yeah, there's some other live encoders that are free too, but this was good in its day and still can be good depending on the purpose, as you just said. But let's move on to another encoder. This one is not free, but we do like it a lot. It's called Wirecast.
Yeah, so Wirecast is from a company named Telestream, and this is one of their premier products. They actually have been the leader in this live video encoding space. They build this as a video production studio. So you can do things, you can do video switching, you can hook multiple cameras up to your computer and switch between different inputs. So you can do things like picture in a picture, you can have some neat transitions built in. You can do things like lower thirds. You can bring up lower thirds and overlay them on your over the video. So when you get into this realm, you've really got a production level or a studio production level capability. You can really create a professional experience for your live stream.
It's $500. They have two versions. The $500 version we think is good for what you want to do. There is, it's not free, but you could download the free demo version of it, mess around with it, and experiment with the free demo version, and get a feel for it. But it is good. It's quality piece of software, and we think that you'll like it.
Yes, it's Mac and PC, and it's actively supported.
Right. So here's another live video encoder. It's called vMix Live Encoder. There is a free version of this. There is a upgraded version for a mere, $60? You
Yes.
can upgrade a little bit more, and there's even some other levels to it. This is kind of like Wirecast. You can have more than one input.
Right. This would be a prime competitor to Wirecast. So this is a professional studio grade, or for live encoding, I guess you'd call it professional. It's not necessarily a professional broadcast studio or anything, but this would be a competitor. It's a younger company, but they've been really up and coming. Have come a long way very quickly. We mentioned there's a free version of this as well that's going to limit some of the resolution on the inputs, but for $60 you can get into HD realm and multiple inputs.
Right.
One limitation with this software is it's PC only.
PC only, so no, you can't put it on your Mac.
Right, but it's a great product. And what's nice about some of these higher end tools, the Wirecast and the vMix, and we're going to talk about some others, is the streaming providers are presets, including us.
Right.
So it's the setup is really easy. You go in, we'll give you some login credentials. You enter those login credentials, and they'll configure all the server connections for you automatically.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of live encoders, here is what's called Open Broadcaster, and this is what we call an open source software. This is a live encoder, and again, it will work on your Mac as well as your PC, as well as your Ubuntu software if you're using that. And again, it's a live encoder, and it will do the job for you if you're interested in using it.
Right. So it's open source. It too is regularly updated. It's early in its life. They're not to the point where they call it a 1.0 release, but it's a very functional, very capable tool.
Absolutely. I'm going to just show you a real quick shot here very quickly of, here's just one example of somebody did. They had 3 cameras, notice 3 different cameras, and video capture devices in between the cameras and the computer. And this is somebody using a laptop. I don't recommend streaming with laptops, but if you've got a decent laptop, you can do it. It will work. That gives you a little example on how it's kind of set up. But there are other live encoders besides software-based live encoders. There are what we would call hardware-based live encoders. And here's one that we haven't talked about much before, but it's got a good reputation. It's the Teradek Vidiu, 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 I guess is how you say that. And it's a little box, a very small little box that you can use to stream with. And so you have your settings, you put settings in this, it works off of, you plug your camera directly into it. You don't have to use a computer.
Right.
This is its own little computer, so to speak. It can connect, I think, using Wi-Fi as well as Ethernet cable. And it's about $600-700, I believe.
Yes, and it's quite small, as you can see, relative to the camera there. So it's it's something you can mount right on the camera. And so in this case, it's probably going to be a Wi-Fi connection there, so you can connect this box up to your camera and be streaming without the need for a computer.
Teradek's a good name. They've got a good reputation out there. They make lots of different products. And again, this is small. You can use it. Again, you don't have to have a computer to use this. You don't have to have a video capture device. And so for $700 or so, it might be something to consider. It's definitely got some pros to it, and it's something to at least think about. Another hardware-based live encoder, a very popular one out there, is called the TriCaster. It's made by Newtek. Steve, you have experience with that?
Yes, our church had a TriCaster for many years. So this is moving up the food chain of hardware-based encoders. The TriCaster is going to have the ability for multiple inputs. I mean, lots of different inputs. It's basically a computer in a box that's running just this encoding software. So this is like the entry level for the TriCaster models starts around $4,000.
So $4,000 as compared to free, or
yes.
One we just showed that was around $700 that was hardware based.
Right. So, and they'll have this is actually very popular with some larger broadcast studios or video
TV stations going different places, basketball games, football games.
Right.
They set this up. And again, it all depends on your needs, your budget. One thing we will say about some of these is if the hardware-based live encoder like this goes out on you, sometimes it's a struggle to recover. You may have to send the equipment back. It may take a week or two. If something that's software-based goes on you, which would be more than likely just your computer going out, you could always download Wirecast or something else on a different computer and usually be up and streaming in a few minutes, usually. Whereas something like a hardware-based, if it goes down, which we've experienced that. We've seen it go down.
Yes.
And
as I mentioned, it's really a computer, so it's got all the same components your computer has. So if anything, you lose a power supply or a hard drive or something like that, it's going to be more painful with this box.
Yeah, you may have to send it back. But, again, it's up to you and your budget. Very quickly, we'll move along here a little bit. We mentioned earlier video switchers. If you have lots of cameras, lots of different inputs and things like this, you could certainly use a digital video switcher like the Roland here, VR3EX. You could send your cameras and other things into this, and then coming out of this, it would go into your video capture device and then into your live encoder. Again, this is a very popular unit. It's I think it's around $1,000 to $1,500 for this particular version.
Right.
Again, something you could possibly use. Another thing is audio switcher. One of the things I want to quickly say here, and that is when it comes to streaming video, obviously video is important, but something just as important, and I would almost say, dare I say it, maybe a little more important at times, is your audio. Because you can have a really super great video picture, but if your audio stinks, people are probably not going to tolerate it very long. So you want to make sure your audio is clear, your audio is good.
Right. So in a basic setup, most of the churches will get their audio input from the soundboard that's at the church and feed that directly into their encoder. Since the effects in the house are going to be different than out on the web, this is an optional item. So some of these things we're talking about towards the later end of this presentation these are definitely optional items to stream. You need a camera, a video adapter, an encoder, and a streaming provider.
Yeah.
So
that's really it. But you obviously want to get I would recommend you get your audio feed out of your mixing board, not out of the camera or anything. Send it right into your computer.
Right.
And if you want to do what we would call a little bit of
post-mixing?
Yeah, post-mixing. So you get a feed coming out of your mixer, send it to something like this.
Yes.
Mix it again so that it's more compatible or a little more user-friendly for the internet. Then that certainly is an option. There's other ways to do this as well with isolators, but we won't get into that right now. Lighting, we mentioned lighting is very important in what you're doing. And if you don't have good lighting, you could consider these kind of features here. There are different LED lighting setups. This is an RC motion panel. There's lots of things out there today that use very little energy. You have a lot of control over it. Cost isn't too bad depending on what you want to do, but lighting is important, and you should definitely have it. Something else that we feel is very important, when you do streaming video, a lot of people think, well, I just want to have the video and put it on my website, which you can certainly do. Most companies will provide you an embed code, but we happen to have what we call a streaming platform that is more than just video. It's actually very interactive, because we think interactivity is very important when it comes to video.
Our goal is to experience someone to your church in person. At the same, they show up, you see if you've got a web host that can greet them and talk to them. You can talk privately with other people, or you can participate in the group chat. So there's, it's important for us. We emphasize that to make the experience such that it's more than just I'm watching the pastor speak, but I can participate in the service as well.
And, there's other companies doing this now. We were probably one of the first to make it interactive, but you can see who's online. You can see the notes of the sermon. You can see a map of who's watching all over the world. There's even some Bible software people can follow along, read a scripture while the pastor, whoever's speaking, is maybe, as you see that on the video part. There's also interactive links so people can give online right from the platform there. There's other things that they can do, see the pastor's blog, see other things. There's lots of things you can do, and this is just one example. You can customize it, make it look like your church's website, very seamless. Lots of different features you can do here if you want social media interaction as well, so you can share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. We think those things are important.
Right. And there's, as we mentioned, we're one of the streaming providers. There's a bunch of providers out there. You do have a lot of choices now. Mm-hmm. We were one of those that was there in the beginning.
We were there.
Yes.
We've been around a while. Days.
Yeah.
All right. So we're about done here. If you have questions, please let us know here. You can chat on the little chat box here, a little bubble up the top there, green little circle, I think. But we do want to encourage you to start doing streaming video. We actually have a little webinar offer if you're interested in it. If you try us out, just go to StreamingChurch.tv and you can make a free 30-day trial. And if you decide later, after 30 days, you want to activate, and you can do so, and it will give you 50% off your first month of activation. If you make a free trial, there's no obligation. We'll send you an email and give you some information how you can stream. You don't have to enter credit cards. We're not going to take your firstborn or anything like that. You can try it.
And what's really nice, I think, with us is if you haven't streamed before, we're gonna walk you every step of the way. So I'm going to point you to getting the right equipment. If you don't have the equipment already, getting that equipment connected and working. Right. We've got a lot of experience working with people, so we're here to work with you every step of the way. We've got software where we can see your screen and talk to you on the phone, and we're here available online as well.
Well, and we really believe our goal, our mission is to help churches use technology to further their purposes. So that's what we're all about. And let us just say this: streaming video has a lot of advantages, and one of which is if you're really trying to reach people, reach your community, when you have streaming video and you have it and people go to your website and they see that as an option, either to look at your archives or to watch the live stream, it creates an opportunity for people to look into your church without having to go there. And a lot of people just won't go to a church. They're
right.
a little intimidated.
We had a leadership meeting in my church recently, and we were talking about the funnel, and it's typical of the sales funnel within businesses. And they talked about how important the streaming is to extend their funnel. So before the funnel would reach to the physical doors of the church as people came in, and they try to, you want to get people to active participation and a closer relationship with God. But the beginning of that is getting people to aware of what you're all about. And the streaming definitely, I know at our church, has acted as a tool to allow people to participate and see what the church is all about without having to go through that tough process of walking through the door for the first time and not knowing what's on the other side.
Right. They get a feel that as they watch the video, they get a feel for obviously the music, the pastor, the style of the church, the culture of the church.
Yeah,
and
they'll get to chat with other people, find out what they're like.
Yeah.
So
It's a great opportunity to do it live, or even if you do live, you can, have an archive, have a media vault. We offer a media vault. And anyhow, so that's it, folks. We are done. If you have any questions, support at StreamingChurch.tv. And if you want to make a free trial, great. If not, that's your choice, but we will help you every step of the way if so. So our time is up. Steve Lacy's been our guest today, and I'm Phil Thompson, and we hope that you have yourself a great day and a great Easter. Take care.